Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, gather around the virtual water cooler as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good stuff. And on this beautiful, wonderful Friday, congratulations on making it through to the end of another week. We've got Erin Cummings in the house, everybody. Erin, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. And I have a cute little Joey Bishop. She's at my feet. But even cuter, John, I have your present that I told you about.
Oh, that's right. You told me yesterday you had a present for me. Oh my goodness.
It's a hand-knit baby Yoda doll.
Oh my God. Did you make that?
I wish I made that. I am a knitter. I love all things being knit, but I'm not that quick yet. So my friend Shannon Robles actually knit this. I ordered it for her, from her, and I thought it would be a nice thing to add to your collection.
It's Anne's
or something for
you
and Anne to lay between your pillows.
You can say it's for me, that's nice.
Right, but it's definitely
Anne's
for
gonna
Anne.
claim it. Anne's totally going to claim it.
And if anybody wants one of these as well, I put this on my Instagram story, but I didn't tag John so that he wouldn't know. So it's on my Instagram story with Shannon's information. But I saw this on her Instagram and I was like, that is too effing cute.
I love that. It's adorable.
There you go, John. This is for you or for Anne.
Yeah, it's for Anne. I'll just get to look at it once in a while.
Exactly.
Anyway, guys, we do have a bunch of things that we're going to talk about here today. We're going to give our final Oscar predictions. The Oscars are this weekend. We'll be giving out our final predictions. Knives Out officially now. We suspected it would be. We heard that Rian Johnson wanted to, but it's now official. Knives Out. Sequel is coming. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about Harley Quinn. But before we review Harley Quinn, we're going to talk a little bit about the fact that the success of this movie right now does it pretty much ensure that DC's strategy of just doing solo movies moving forward is what they're going to do. Viacom inexplicably is going to launch another streaming service. We'll talk about that in a bit. But before we do any of that, let's go right off the top and talk about this as our first main topic. And by the way, how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them by going anytime, 24/7, over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out. It's totally free. And then hit submit. And then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submitted topic or question as a main featured topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's move on to that first topic today. And our first topic today on this glorious Friday comes to us from Aaron G., who writes, "Hey, John, I've been getting pretty excited for Birds of Prey since the reviews have been glowing. I know you mentioned you were going to go see it tonight. This, of course, came in last night. So I wanted to hear your review of it. Thanks, and bring on the filthy." All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, I went to go see Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, or also known as The Birds of Prey and the Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Went to go see it last night. Erin, you saw it too.
I did see it, yes.
So we'll get to your thoughts there in just a second. Listen, full disclosure. This is one of the DC movies that I've been like, I don't know what you're making this for. I didn't really like the idea of it at first in concept. I wasn't really thrilled with the trailers. Now, that's fine. There have been lots of movies that the concept didn't look good to me and I didn't like the trailers, and I ended up loving the movie, so that's great. But then the reviews started coming out. The social media embargo lifted. It was great. Then the review embargo lifted. I think it's sitting at a really respectable 88% right now, which is great. So you guys who've watched the show have seen my enthusiasm getting higher and higher. And I love Margot Robbie and I love Ewan McGregor. So it's like, okay, let's go see what this is about. Didn't like it. I didn't like it. Now, let me be clear here. I did not hate it. I'm not sitting here saying Harley Quinn is a terrible movie. No, it's not. It's not terrible. But here's the funny thing. This is how I described it coming out. I said it's a very odd situation for me. In that normally when you don't like a movie, there will be some things you like and a bunch of things you don't like, and the things you don't like outweigh the things you like, right? For me, it's a very, very weird experience. There are a lot of individual elements of this movie that I really did quite like. For instance, Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn. I mean, she owns that role.
Totally.
And when she's just on screen doing her thing, I'm like, I like it.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor was fabulous. I really I got into Ewan McGregor's, it was a little bit of a different take than I was expecting.
And both of those were very campy kind, like it's a fine line. You got to be a good actor to be able to pull off either of those roles.
Yes, and both of them, thankfully, are very good actors. So I really liked what Ewan McGregor was doing. I liked the philosophy behind it of them like just going, balls to the wall, like just being really crazy and nuts with it, because I have a little bit fallen in love, not a little bit, I have massively fallen in love with the Harley Quinn animated show.
Right, you've talked about it.
And I heard from a lot of people saying that the movie really does take a page from the Harley Quinn animated show. I'm like, all right. They definitely went R with it, and there are a number of, and the basic concept of it, I found myself buying into. Here's why this situation is strange for me, because normally when you add up that many things that I like individually, it means I enjoyed the movie. But there was just something about the way all these pieces of the puzzle, these great pieces of the puzzle, did not quite fit together well. And for whatever reason, the movie as a whole left me feeling a little bit empty. And it's one of the situations, like often you'll hear like the sum was greater than, or see, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. This was the opposite for me. It was like the whole was actually lesser than the sum of its parts. And again, I'm accustomed to coming out of a movie that I didn't like and going, wow, there's all these individual things I didn't like. Yeah. And there's not a ton of individual things. There's definitely a few things we will talk about. But it's just that the way they all came together for me, it felt flat. It felt empty. And it just didn't click. Again, let me be clear, not a terrible movie. And if I could flash back about 3 months to how bad I thought this movie was going to be, it's certainly better than what I was expecting. It's certainly not as good as I was expecting after all the great reviews, but certainly better than I was expecting 3 months ago. And like I said, I think I can see why a lot of people are going to enjoy this and like it, but to me, it was just all the pieces were there, just not well put together. I think that's kind of ultimately how I felt about it because, for instance, Huntress, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who can do no wrong in my books.
Right.
Oh my God, I love that girl.
Yeah.
She can do no wrong in my books. She doesn't even, aside from the odd peak, she doesn't really get introduced in the film till like the third act of the film.
Right. Very underused.
Yeah, and I don't want to I'm not going to give anything away, but It's like, there's that, and then, why does she suddenly feel this about that character? And why, I don't know, it just felt like, again, the concept was there, the individual pieces were there, they had some great ideas, and I feel the same way about this movie that I felt about the first Underworld.
Okay.
With Kate Beckinsale. All the pieces were there, so many cool things in it, but I just didn't like it. But because all the cool pieces are there, if they do a sequel, I'm down. Like, I didn't like this movie, but I'm down for a sequel because I got to imagine with all those pieces of the puzzle there, they can do something better next time, So anyway, that's kind of my impression of, again, I don't want to I'm not going to give any spoilers away here, but that was kind of my feelings on Birds of Prey. You actually had a chance to see Birds of Prey 4 hours before me. You and Tom went to go see it, a 6 o'clock show last night.
When you said that you were going to see it and we had the evening free and I knew that I was going to come in today, I didn't want to be like, oh my God, I needed to be on top of this as well. So, yes, we went to see it at the ArcLight last night at 6 o'clock. I know when you said I'm going to see it, I was like, Todd, I'm going to bed. I don't think that you sleep. I really don't think that John Campea sleeps. So it's interesting because, going into this, I had all the high hopes.
You were so excited for this movie.
So excited. I was like, Margot Robbie can do no wrong. This movie is going to be hype. I'm so pumped. And I think that she really hit the nail on the head because I agree. There were all of the elements, and I went in ready to be the biggest fan. And as I was watching it, I was like, I'm not disliking it, and it held my attention, but I wasn't enjoying it as much as I thought I was. And I remember sitting in the movie going, I should have a huge, gross grin on my face right now.
A Joker-like grin on your face?
A Joker-like grin on my face. I should literally just have my ears burning because I'm smiling so much and I'm so jazzed out of my seat. And I didn't feel that until, not to give any spoilers, until the big culmination.
Right.
But I also have to, so yes, I felt like at the beginning it was a bit discombobulated, in which we're not really sure, like you said, why this character all of a sudden is just there were certain major leaps that the audience has to take to believe, oh, now this is a realistic relationship. Oh, now they're just going to throw away this entire perspective and jump on board with this entire perspective. It was very discombobulated, but I also look at, they're introducing an entirely new world. And taking it from the perspective of someone who does not know anything about birds of prey, who has never met Black Canary, who has never met certain characters that are being introduced, and having to learn about, okay, well, what is her backstory and what does she come from, and there was a lot going on here. I almost feel like maybe too much was going on of trying to introduce too many characters and create too much of a situation that for one film. But I agree, I am interested in the second one. But interestingly enough, I kind of felt the same way in a weird sense about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I watched the movie and I was like, I'm into it. I'm not really that jazzed. I'm kind of going along. I'm interested, but I'm not feeling anything. And then all of a sudden I was like, there's Quentin Tarantino. Yeah. There's what I want. That's what I came for. And I felt the same way about this movie. When everything happens, and you know what I'm talking about, I was like, oh, here I am. And then there was my crazy Joker smile. I loved, can I say the cocaine bit? I won't say anything else. Sorry. Okay. I'm teetering on that.
Oh, you're not going to explain. You can just say the words the cocaine bit.
Yeah,
without giving away what happened.
As soon as that happened, I was like, oh, here we go. And I wasn't wrong. I thought the fight scenes were phenomenal. I actually stayed and watched the entire credits because I wanted to just see who all was involved. 4 stunt coordinators. The list of stunt people is like this long. The list of visual effects people from all over the world. I mean, you really see how much work went into this movie. The acting, Janae Smollett-Bell was phenomenal. I thought that she brought a beautiful level of emotion, and
it almost felt out of place, to be honest. Because you're right. I agree with your assessment of her performance. And it almost felt out of place.
See,
because she was doing something that nobody else in the movie was doing.
But I don't have a problem with that. I like the fact that then we know, oh, that's what she does.
Right.
Because in a similar way, Mary Elizabeth Winstead also had had the opposite thing going on,
yes,
where
she did.
Was so disconnected, so completely disconnected, which worked for her character. But I also, and this is the thing that I'll end on, is there was a term that I first read after Wonder Woman, after Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman came out, and it was referring to the male gaze, which is the lens through which a male director directs women, actresses, and it removes a certain level of the sexuality out of these action figures. Usually when we have badass female action figures, they're also sexy, badass action. There's a thing that I didn't see in Wonder Woman, and I didn't see it in Birds of Prey. Not saying that these women don't look insanely sexy and beautiful and gorgeous and show lots of skin and all that, but it's a different thing, and it's hard to put my finger on it. The only way that I can describe it is that term that I heard after Wonder Woman, which is the difference of being seen not through the male gaze. And I would love to hear what other people say about that. I saw it, like I said, through Patty Jenkins, and same thing with Kathy Yan directing this, is being able to see just badass women being badass and beautiful and sexy, but not through a male gaze. That was just an interesting way of seeing, these horrifyingly violent and very exciting fight scenes with women. I thought they did a great job, and I agree with you. I'm ready to see a sequel.
One thing that really bothered me too was I'm going to be very cautious because this won't give anything away. At the end of every movie, every character's part in that movie is concluded. By the time the movie ended, every character's part. The conclusion of the two main villains was very anticlimactic for both of them. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying what happened to them, because every character has their part of the movie comes to an end at some point in the movie, and the conclusion of both of the villains in it I found very anticlimactic.
Yeah, I would have liked a little slow motion on some of that stuff.
I would have liked to have seen just a lot more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was a problem with me.
It was like slow, rush.
Yeah, and then in the midst of a rush, an anticlimactic. It was odd. So again, a lot of individual things to like about this movie.
Chris Messina was phenomenal.
Who?
He was the guy with all the cuts all over him.
Zaz. Yeah, it's Victor Zaz. Yeah. He was great. He was great. Victor Zaz was really cool.
Oh, I need to look him up because
his interaction with Ewan McGregor was great in the movie. Another element that I really liked, but just for some reason the pieces of the puzzle did not fit together for me. So listen, it's a movie that I think a lot of people are going to like. And maybe some of you guys saw it and you did like it, and that's awesome. I think obviously huge critic rating on Rotten Tomatoes right now, which is great. It just, with all the excitement I started to build up for it, it didn't live up to it for me. How did you guys feel about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Gregory Voigt, who writes, "We are officially heading into the weekend of the Academy Awards. Yes, indeed we are. As this is the last John Campea show before the awards take place this Sunday, I was wondering, what are your final predictions for who will win all the major awards?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, it's time. I've had some picks from about 4 weeks ago that changed 2 weeks ago, that changed again 3 days ago. But here we are. This is the last chance we got to give our picks. Now, look, no spoiler alert here. It's the 4 major acting categories has not changed for me. I mean, look, I think everybody knows. Joaquin is going to win Best Actor. Renee Zellweger is going to win Best Actress. Laura Dern's going to win Best Supporting Actress. Brad Pitt's going to win Best Supporting Actor. But still, let's take a look, shall we, everybody? Aaron, let's take a look at this. Let's start going through all these categories here. Now, by the way, this is Entertainment Weekly's list here. So we're going to start thing on Entertainment Weekly with Best Picture.
Okay.
Best Picture, Entertainment Weekly is projecting Parasite to win, despite the fact that 1917 has won Directors Guild, won BAFTA, won the PGA. But they're projecting Parasite. Of course, it's up against Ford v. Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm telling you, it's going to be 1917. 1917. I mean, there is a chance other films will win, but if I was putting $5 on this, I put it on 1917. That is what I'm sticking with for the prediction going into the Oscars. How do you feel?
I agree. You know that I've said it a million times. I definitely want it to be 1917. May have to flip a table. However, I did love Parasite, and there has been a lot of chatter on Twitter about Parasite as a Best Picture, so we could have an upset again this year.
All right. Next up, Best Director. And again, I don't think there's a lot of drama here. The projected winner by Entertainment Weekly is Sam Mendes. Again, won the Directors Guild of America. He's been winning a lot of other stuff. I think this is almost a lock. But of course, it's hard to say a lock when you're also running against Martin Scorsese, Todd Phillips for Joker, Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Bong Joon-ho, who could be a dark horse in this. He could be an upset thing, but I still think it's going to be Sam Mendes. How do you feel?
I agree. I think it'll be Sam Mendes. However, when it comes to the performances of the actors, Bong Joon-ho did a phenomenal job. And he also won the Golden Globes. So
yeah, but you know how I feel about the Golden Globes.
I know how most people feel about the Golden Globes.
All right. Although they do put on a great show.
They put on a great show. Everybody's
really
drunk by the end. It's fun to watch. And it also is sometimes a precursor to what we're going to see at the Oscars. So I wouldn't be surprised with an upset there too.
All right. Now we move into what I think are the locked ones, but you never know. So Best Actress. They are projecting Renee Zellweger. She's been sweeping up every award. So it seems Cynthia Erivo, Scarlett Johansson, Saoirse Ronan, Charlize Theron for Bombshell. I don't see any potential. I mean, a month ago, 2 months ago, I would have thought, you know what, Scarlett Johansson, because everybody loved Marriage Story, and what she and Adam Driver did on screen together is incredible, but it's going to be Renee Zellweger, right?
Yeah, she carries the entire film. She has this incredible ability as an actress in a Philip Seymour Hoffman sort of way to just embody a completely different person and take on a persona as she did in Chicago, as she's done before. She's phenomenal and she'll win.
She's great. All right. Best actor in leading role. Everybody in the planet is projecting Joaquin Phoenix for Joker. He's up against Antonio Banderas for Pain and Glory, Leonardo DiCaprio for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Adam Driver for Marriage Story, Jonathan Pryce, The Two Popes. I'll tell you what, if I was an Oscar voter, I think I might be voting Jonathan Pryce. That's not to take anything
Just
away.
to be an outlier? Just because you know that Joaquin Phoenix is going to win?
No.
Or you're saying that you think Jonathan Pryce should win?
I think if I was an Oscar voter, I think I would vote Jonathan Pryce. Again, Joaquin Phoenix was stupid good. Adam Driver was stupid good. Antonio Banderas was stupid good. But I don't know. When I watched The Two Popes, because the majority of this movie is two guys in a room talking.
Sure.
In different rooms at different times. But that's really 90% of this movie is two guys in a room talking. And the way him and Anthony Hopkins held court, I was just sucked into the movie and the characters and the performances. And I don't know that I wouldn't vote Two Popes, but it's going to be Joaquin Phoenix.
Sure.
Joaquin Phoenix is going to win this award, and I will have no complaints about it because he's freaking phenomenal in this thing. So I think easily the winner is Joaquin Phoenix. What about you?
But you know what? You bring up a good point, which is when looking at two performances and comparing them, how do you compare them? Do you compare them to, one actor who is so captivating and talented that you could watch that person read from the phone book, or someone else who transforms their body physically and also transforms themselves psychologically to embody a completely different character and has so much physicality throughout the film that really costs them a lot that they have to recover from? How do you compare those two performances? It really is, and which is why
it's a case by case.
Which is why it is an honor just to be nominated, because both of them could and should win, but Joaquin will.
Joaquin will. All right, now we move on to Best Actress in a Supporting Role. I think out of all the nominations this year, if you had, like every year I kind of say, there's a few things we would call locks, but if you had to say there was one category that I would drop $100 on, and none of the rest of them I would. But if I had to say there was one category that I would drop $100 on, the lock of the Oscars this year is Laura Dern for Marriage Story. I just think that is the lock. Kathy Bates was great. Scarlett Johansson and Jojo Rabbit was great. Florence Pugh and Little Women was great. Actually, a movie I liked a lot more than I thought I would. And Margot Robbie in Bombshell was great. But this is Laura Dern's thing. Laura Dern in a movie that Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson so own. She owned every scene she was in.
She stands out. It's hard
it's
to watch that movie and not go, "Oh, Laura Dern." She really she doesn't take anything away from Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, but she really every single scene. And I think that especially, I've heard so many women say, "Man, if I were a divorce attorney, I would totally be that girl." Like women,
or you'd want that girl.
You would want that girl, and women actually look, and she has this aspirational quality, like a woman who's just been through a divorce, been through hell, sees women at their most vulnerable, and she's just got it all together.
Yeah, and she's a piranha.
I would
just
say though,
her.
I for my, as great as I thought she was, if I were a voting member, I would vote Scarlett Johansson. I just loved her and I didn't want to love her in Jojo Rabbit. I honestly didn't. I don't go into a Scarlett Johansson movie going, "Oh, I can't wait to see Scarlett," for some reason, but I loved her in Jojo Rabbit. Loved her.
This is how good of a year it was for Scarlett Johansson. People are going to look, she gets nominated for this. She's incredible in it. And when people look back to 2019, they're not even going to think about Jojo Rabbit. They're going to think about her performance in Marriage Story. That's how good of a year she has had. It has been an incredible year for her. All right. Best Actor in a Supporting Role. Again, no big surprise. Projected winner is Brad Pitt. He has been winning everything else along the ways. Again, I might probably cast my vote for Anthony Hopkins for The Two Popes. Again, to me, that movie was just held together entirely by its performances. But Tom Hanks' Beautiful Day, Tom Hanks is so good, it loses it's almost works against him because it's lost its meaning now to say Tom Hanks is incredible in this movie. And because we just assume it now.
Right.
He's so good in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I believed every second that he was Fred Rogers, the greatest human being to ever walk the face of the earth. I just believed it every second. But we just so assume it now of him that it's, oh yeah, Tom Hanks is
right.
Brilliant and wonderful, of course. But anyway, but Brad Pitt, listen, I'm not a big fan of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I didn't dislike the movie. I liked the movie, but I am not its biggest fan. I don't think it's one of Quentin Tarantino's better films.
I would say so. Yeah.
But oh my God, Brad Pitt really is so good in it. I love Brad Pitt in this movie. So he's going to win and I'll have no complaints. How about you?
And I'm excited for Brad Pitt because he has done so many films that I think that he did thinking, oh, this is going to be my chance to win over the Oscars.
Yeah.
This is going to be my chance to let the Academy know that I'm not just another pretty face, that I can actually act. And he is a good actor. He's a phenomenal actor. And he's done all of these, 7 years in Tibet. And he's done all these films that I think people want him to do to be seen as a more serious actor. But ultimately, we want to see Brad Pitt just being kind of a sloppy badass. And that's what he does best. And he's so, and I think also sometimes at a certain point in an actor's career or a director's career, people go, you know what? It's just your time. It's just your time. It's just Brad Pitt's time. He was phenomenal in this film. He is a phenomenal actor, and I'm glad that he's finally getting his just desserts. Tom Hanks has plenty of Oscars. He'll be okay. He'll get another nomination next year for something. I'm not worried about Tom Hanks.
And by the way, I going into it, I was kind of curious, how well will Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio do together? Because they're both phenomenal, and their chemistry was so good. It's what made the movie.
Oh,
it's their chemistry. That's what made it.
Yes, you do believe that these are two guys who have been working side by side their entire careers, and you want to go have a beer with them.
Yep. All right, let's keep moving on here. Now we move on to Best Original Screenplay. What we've got here, Entertainment Weekly is projecting Bong Joon-ho for Parasite. Other nominees, Rian Johnson, Knives Out, Noah Baumbach for Marriage Story, Sam Mendes, 1917, Quentin Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. My vote is Rian Johnson, Knives Out. I just thought that movie is all screenplay. It's so brilliantly conceived. I loved it. But I do agree with them. I think it's going to go to Bong Joon-ho and Han Jong-won for Parasite. It's so... The way it becomes a different movie every 20 minutes is just remarkable and oddly compelling. And I think it'll win, and I got no complaints about it winning. How do you feel?
I agree, and here's why. Because before I even saw it, I said to someone, what's the movie about? And she said, I'm not going to tell you, and don't ask anyone that question ever again. Because you just got to go in not knowing anything about it. And I said, oh, I'm going to love this movie. And you're right. It becomes a different movie every twist and turn. It becomes a different genre every twist and turn. Is it a horror? Is it a thriller? Is it a comedy? Is it a romantic comedy? I don't even know what category it falls into. And I agree. Yeah, I would love for Parasite
Have
to
you
win
heard
this.
how I describe it?
No.
Did you ever see Michael Caine and Steve Martin's Dirty Rotten Scoundrels?
Yeah.
This is how I describe...
It takes the fork and
Ruprecht. This is how I describe Parasite. I said Parasite is Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, directed by Quentin Tarantino. That's Parasite. In a nutshell, that's Parasite. It's Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Oh my God.
That's how, and it's brilliant that way. Okay, let's move on to Best Adapted Screenplay. Entertainment Weekly is projecting Taika Waititi. The other nominees are Steve Zalian for The Irishman, Todd Phillips for Joker, Greta Gerwig for Little Women, Anthony McCartan for The Two Popes. And I'm going to go along with Entertainment Tonight. Entertainment Weekly, I got Leonard Maltin on the brain. I believe it's the one that should win. I'm actually believing this is the one category they're going to give a little bit of love to Jojo Rabbit for. I think it's going to win Best Adapted Screenplay. What do you think?
I really hope so, because God, what an incredible movie! And yes, it is another one of those movies that has the shoe scene, which everyone just refers to as the shoe scene, is such a shocking jolt of it's again. What genre are we in? Is it a sad movie? Is it a happy movie? Are you supposed to feel good? Are you supposed to feel sad? Are you supposed to laugh? Are you supposed to cry? You do all of those things. And those moments where Taika Waititi beautifully wove them all together. And it really was like an orchestra. You felt like you were listening to a concert as you're watching this film. And the emotions were beautifully choreographed. I really hope it's Jojo Rabbit.
All right, this is almost not even worth talking about, but Best International Film, Corpus Christi, Honeyland, Les Mis, Pain and Glory. But look, when one of the nominees is nominated for Best Picture and none of the other nominees are, the Academy is not going to delegitimize themselves by saying, oh, and the winner for Best International Feature is Pain and Glory. Well, then how come Pain and Glory isn't nominated for Best Picture? So it's going to be Parasite, obviously, and well-deserved. All right, Best Animated Feature. This is going to be interesting. Because Entertainment Weekly, and I think a lot of people are projecting Toy Story 4 to win. Here's the thing. Toy Story 4 hasn't won nothing all award season. It's everything has been Klaus and everything has been Missing Link. Mostly Klaus has been winning. The Netflix animated one has been winning, including the Annies. It kind of swept up at the Annies. But I do believe Toy Story 4 will win. And here's why. I just think the Academy loves this movie. And I love this movie. I think it's great. So I agree. I think it's going to be Toy Story 4. But this is one of those categories that I have no idea what name they're going to read on that envelope when it comes to time. But I think it's going to be Toy Story 4. What do you think?
You know what? I'm not going to mention what it is, but there's a certain category a couple years ago that I saw every movie in that category, and it was kind of an obscure category. And I was like, clearly no one in the Academy saw any of these movies, because the one who won, and that's why we had that whole conversation yesterday about who actually nominates and who actually votes. And so I really do believe that in certain categories like sound editing and animation, there are certain people that are just like, I've heard of Toy Story, so sure. And so that's why I wouldn't be surprised if Toy Story won. And of course, everybody loves Toy Story. But I also feel that with so many films that the Academy, the voting members are required to watch and expected to watch, there's just some that fall through the cracks. And some of those include the shorts category, the documentary category, the animation category. And it's sad to say, but unfortunately, not every voting Academy member watches every film that's nominated.
Wait, here's why I don't think that's an issue. This is why I don't think that's an issue. Because while I do believe... Now, remember, at the end of the day, really, because remember, all the individual branches put out the nominations.
Right.
So then there's actually not that many things that need to be watched. I mean, really, once you boil it down to... Once you got your films that are nominated, there's not actually that much that needs to be watched. And the reason I think that... It's an unescapable fact. There are some Academy members that don't watch everything.
Yeah.
But I believe... one of the brilliance within the Academy system, as opposed to, say, the Golden Globes that has 64 voting members. Mm-hmm. So if, 8 people don't watch the movies in the Golden Globes, that represents a significant, huge percentage of the voting body. The Academy has over 7,000 voting members. And while I believe that I absolutely
I didn't realize there was that many people.
It crossed 7,000 this year. While I absolutely believe there are some that didn't watch all of them, I believe the sheer numbers and volume and the percentage of those who do watch all of them, and again, there's not that many to watch, inoculates it against any real... So, let's say I'm a voting Academy member and I don't do my responsibility of watching all the movies. The Academy's pretty inoculated against me. That 7,000, the sheer voting size of the body is like an immune system that protects it from idiot viruses like me from really affecting the overall result too much. So, I mean, it's an issue, but again, there's not that many. I'd say there's probably only about, especially when you take shorts into it, which you can knock out in about 2 hours.
See, that's where I have to disagree. I'm not going to give the example because it's a little controversial right now. It's just too soon. But I will look up a few other examples of categories where clearly people did not watch the movie.
Well, I mean, but then it's a matter of personal taste and opinion.
Well,
right?
You're acting like my personal taste and opinion isn't the way that things should be.
Well, I mean, obviously. I mean, that goes without saying, so I don't need to elaborate on that.
My mom just texted me and said that she's watching the show live, so I had to throw out, that one's for you, Mom. You know I'm always right.
Okay.
So, no, I hear what you're saying, John.
Let's move on here to Best Documentary Feature, and this is one where, as a bad Academy member, I've only seen one of the nominees.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which one did you see?
I'm not going to say because I don't want to mention which ones I didn't watch.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so I've only seen one on the list. So I'm just going to go, sure. Entertainment Weekly is picking for Sama, so I'm going to say sure. But the other nominees were American Factory, The Cave, The Edge of Democracy for Sama, and Honeyland. I'll just go for sure. But I believe Honeyland, if I'm not mistaken, was also nominated for Best International Feature. So there's an example where a doc is actually in another category as well, which is actually
Wait, it was nominated for Best International Feature?
Yeah, alongside Parasite and Pain and Glory.
I didn't realize that features and documentaries could...
They can. So a documentary can be nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
Oh, fascinating.
Isn't it, though? I don't think it's ever happened, but it can. It can. Theoretically, it can. So I
will look that up on our break.
So I can't even really venture a guess. Best Cinematography, The Irishman, Joker, The Lighthouse, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is Richard Deacon's award. I mean, 1917.
It has to be.
Look, the cinematography in The Lighthouse is crazy good. It absolutely is crazy good. I'm kind of surprised the cinematography for Ford v Ferrari didn't get nominated, because that's also really great. But I agree. I think it's going to be 1917.
If you have not, have you seen the 8-minute making of 1917 on Showtime?
I have not.
I was livid that it was only 8 minutes, because I got my free trial to Showtime just so I could see the making of 1917. And then Tom and I watched it. I was like, it's 8 minutes, and then I forgot to unsubscribe, so now I have Showtime. I should go and do that today. But when you watch, everybody should go watch this. Just get your free trial of 7 days of Showtime and then cancel it. But the way that they had to time the flares to light the abandoned city so that the light, the shadows would move in certain ways at certain times, that is mind-boggling. It is such an incredible way of showing how beautifully light actually is involved in storytelling. Because
it's the life of the cinematographer.
Scene, the way that the flares are going over, if you don't have those flares timed perfectly, it just doesn't tell the same story in that part of the film. And I love that. So I agree. I really hope it's 1917 for this.
All right, best film editing. We've got Entertainment Weekly is picking Joker. We've got Ford v Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, of course, and Parasite. I actually think my vote would be for, and I think what will win actually, is Ford v Ferrari. I just think the editing of that film is so superiorly strong. It's just so superior to everything else. I thought the editing really helped make that movie what it was. Don't get me wrong, the editing in all the other nominees was fantastic, and Joker very well could win, but my pick is actually going to be, and what I think they're going to do, I think they're going to go for Ford v Ferrari. What about you?
You know what? This is one of those moments where I have to just completely admit my ignorance, and I think that because you have directed your own film and sat in an editing bay, and you have to edit so many things, not just for this project, but you're working on a documentary right now that you're going to be editing soon, if you're not already in the editing process as you're going along. I don't really understand how to watch different movies and go, oh, that editing is really good. Oh, that editing is not very good, or is not as good. And I've actually recently reached out to a friend of mine who is editing a film, and I said, can I just sit in the editing bay with you, because I need to learn more about that. So I don't really have an opinion about this category, but I'm glad to hear that you do, because I know that you have a lot of experience with that.
And I have next to none compared to other people like Robert Meyer Burnett and others. But yeah, I just thought I thought the editing made Ford v Ferrari. I mean, it's fabulous performances. I just thought it was great. All right, let's move on to costume design. We got costume design for The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This one's stacked. Entertainment Weekly is going with Little Women, and very well could be. Very well could be, but I could see an argument for The Irishman. I could see an argument for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I could see an argument for Jojo Rabbit, Little Women, because those four films all take place in very distinct time periods, and I never once doubted I was in that time period when it comes to things like costume design. I'm going to lean... I think I'm going to lean Irishman. I leaned another way the other day. I went totally to a different direction. But you know what? Today I'm feeling like Irishman, so I'm going to go Irishman. I think Irishman will win. What about you?
I'm going to go Jojo Rabbit, because first of all, to pick such an iconic pair of shoes that we had no idea was going to have such a major part of that film, and also all the kids' costumes and the way that they were distressed throughout the film, and of course Sam Rockwell's.
Oh, amazing character.
I mean, Alfie Allen's bathing suit alone is worth an Oscar. I agree with you, though. This is anybody's category, but I'm going to go Jojo Rabbit. Okay,
best makeup and hairstyling. Entertainment Weekly is going for Bombshell. We got Joker, Judy, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, in 1917. I'm going Joker on this one. I just, when you talk about makeup and hairstyling, it was the appearance. What really drew me into that universe's version of Gotham was just, there was a what's the best word I'm looking for? There was a palette, if you will, when it came to the physical appearance, face and hair and all that kind of stuff of the inhabitants of Gotham, and not even talking about Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. that just sucked me in the whole bit. So I am actually, I'm going to go against Entertainment Weekly on this. I think it's going to be Joker.
What did Entertainment Weekly say?
Bombshell. Yeah.
I'm actually really surprised that you didn't say Bombshell, because when we first started seeing the previews and all the things, all you kept saying was
that's not Charlize Theron.
That's not Charlize Theron. That's Megyn Kelly. And then also, Gretchen. I want to say Gretchen Wilson because I love her country music, but Gretchen Carlson. Excuse me. Nicole Kidman as Gretchen Carlson. The chin. Some people were bothered by the chin. I thought they actually did a beautiful job of creating the Fox News lady look, not just with the two characters who were supposed to look like Megyn Kelly and Gretchen Carlson, but also for Margot Robbie's look, how that look transforms as she moves further and further along in her career of embodying what that Fox News woman look is. I go with Bombshell.
All right. Next up, we're just going to rush through the last couple ones here. We're in Best Production Design. We've got The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. The Entertainment Weekly is leaning towards Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I've got to agree. Quentin Tarantino transformed the entire city. Mm-hmm. Like it was not digital. They actually went down.
All of that
Hollywood.
Was practical?
Yeah. It was all practical.
I don't know if I believe that.
No,
really?
At least the vast majority of it was. At least the vast majority. They literally recreated 1960s
No, I'm not saying
Hollywood.
that I don't believe you, but I'm shocked.
Yeah, it's nuts. And I remember I had a guy come into studio who was one of the construction dudes on what's going on, and they spilled to me like how much they're spent. How much of the budget of this movie was just recreating 1960 Hollywood.
And also like Sunset Boulevard, like major areas.
Did crazy things.
Driving down, not just, we're going to take this one block and put up Musso and Frank's. No, okay. You know what? My opinion has changed.
Which is part of the reason why Quentin Tarantino, one of the weaknesses of the film to me was we spent like 87 minutes of this movie just driving in the car, looking at Quentin Tarantino going, look at how I transformed Hollywood, everybody.
Old Hollywood.
Look at how it was all practical. Look at it, everybody. Did you not see it the last 5-minute car driving scene? Let's do another 5-minute car driving scene so you can. But listen, seriously, it was crazy. So I got to give it to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
It was his love affair with old Hollywood. So God bless him. With that information, it's kind of hard, especially in today's day and age when it's so easy to just rely on CGI. The fact that he did so much practical is really impressive. Does it say the name of the production designer?
No, it doesn't. So I don't know who the main
whoever you are, you're awesome.
They were very good. All right. Best visual effects. This should be a no-brainer. The nominees for Best Visual Effects are Avengers Endgame, The Irishman, The Lion King, 1917, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. Now, Entertainment Weekly is picking The Lion King, and it's a no-brainer. It is The Lion King. Like,
obviously.
I'm sorry. Just stop. Just stop. If you're going to say another movie, just stop. Just
Avengers Endgame.
And remember, because a lot of people confuse things. This is not a category of what's the best movie that had visual effects. That's not it. What had the best visual effects? We have never seen something like what they did with Lion King. What Jon Favreau did with his team on Lion King is something we have never seen before. To the point that there's an argument. This is how good the effects are. There's an argument about whether or not this is a live action movie or not. So still people who believe this is a live action movie. That's how good it is. It is the best visual effects I think we have ever seen in any movie. Ever. It is. This thing should win. But my fear is there's going to be Academy Award members who don't understand the process of visual effects and will look at this and go, and maybe there might even be a lot of Academy members who don't even realize Lion King is just, the entire movie is one big visual effect. I don't know. I don't know that it's going to win, but it should. It damn well should. And so I'm going to say that Lion King will win. Although there's going to be a lot of push for The Irishman because of what they did to Joe Pesci and Al Pacino and Robert De Niro and that. There's going to be a lot of push for that, but it should be Lion King. It should be Lion King.
I'm going to just, be a little controversial here and say I didn't really love what they did to
Pesci and
not Pesci, specifically
Pacino?
Robert De Niro. I didn't. It was very clear to me. I was like, oh, that's digitally. Like it took me out of the film when I was trying to watch it.
It was still amazing.
It was amazing.
It's amazing what they
for
did.
Sure, but for the budget, you just go. I did not think that it was as crisp and clean. When I was watching Lion King, I was like, hey, how'd they get that ant to do that? I legitimately forgot, as you were saying, that it was not live action.
Yeah. No live action. Okay. Best original song. I Can't Let You Throw Yourself Away from Toy Story 4. I'm Gonna Love Me Again from Rocket Man, which is what Entertainment Weekly is picking. I'm Standing With You, Breakthrough, Into the Unknown, Frozen 2, Stand Up from Harriet. My vote would be Into the Unknown from Frozen 2, but I agree with Entertainment Weekly with their pick of Love Me Again. I think that's going to win, but I think it should be Into the Unknown from Frozen 2.
I really want it to be Love Me Again. Like I don't know. There's something about I want this to be Elton's year, and he was so thrilled at the Golden Globes. I mean, so this is not based on it should win. This is just based on me just loving Elton John and seeing him express joy at winning.
Okay, we got to fly through the next couple ones. Best original score: Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker with John Williams, 138th Academy Award nomination. I'm exaggerating, but it's in the 50s. It's in the 50s. That's how many times John Williams was nominated for Academy Award. It's in the 50s. Anyway, Joker's going to win. Okay. Entertainment Weekly is also picking Joker. I think Joker probably will win. Stunning score.
I'll take it.
Best sound editing: Ford v Ferrari, Joker, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. I think it should be Ford v Ferrari, but I mean, there's a very, very strong case to make for 1917. That is Entertainment Weekly's pick, and I'm going to agree with them. They probably will give it to 1917.
Great.
All right. Sound mixing. Which not always, but often the winner of editing will also win mixing. The nominees are Ad Astra, Ford v Ferrari, Joker, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Again, I think Ford v Ferrari should take it, but the sound mixing in 1917 is also ridiculously good, and that is Entertainment Weekly's pick. And since I think they'll win editing, I also think they'll win mixing.
You will teach me what mixing means.
We'll go through all that, the difference between sound editing and sound mixing. We will skip the shorts and stuff like that. So there we go, guys. So the question is, that was a very long segment.
That was a long segment.
There are a lot of categories to go through there. Guys, question is, what are your final picks for the Oscars this weekend? It is the biggest weekend in the movie calendar year. What are your picks? Jump on down the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, we're just going to really fly through the next few topics. Let's get on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today comes to us from Max Million, who writes, "Hello, John. Hope all is well. It is well, thank you very much. I know you heard that a Knives Out sequel has been confirmed with the potential on a 2022 release date. With this in mind, do you believe it is likely that a new stellar cast is to be announced around the detective Benoit Blanc, played, of course, by Daniel Craig, character, or will the same cast return?" All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, man. And listen, I was expecting something good from Knives Out. I was not prepared for just how damn good that movie is. It's in my top 5 best movies of 2019. I absolutely adored it. The old style whodunit detective mystery movie, which we just don't really get anymore, with a tremendous character in Detective Blanc, played by Daniel Craig, who was I suspect foul play. I mean, you never think you can say a line like that in a movie today, and they did it, and they made it work. So, yes, it has been confirmed. Again, we heard the whispers and rumors. Rian Johnson was going to start working on it, blah, blah, blah. But it is now 100% official. Variety is reporting that it is done. Lionsgate has officially greenlit the sequel. It is official, writes Variety. Lionsgate is preparing a sequel to its hit Knives Out. 2 of its top executives have confirmed. And basically, blah, 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 going on, hoping for 2022, all that kind of stuff. Here's the thing. Do I think they'll bring back this cast? No, I don't. They're not. They're going to turn this into a serial. They're going to turn this into a Detective Benoit Blanc serial of movies. And every movie is going to be a new mystery. Now, it would be pretty cool to see them bring along Ana de Armas. It would be kind of cool to see that. I won't give any spoilers away from the first one, but it would be kind of cool if they brought her along. But I don't even think they're going to do that. I think we're going to get every movie It's going to be it's just going to be like Murder on the Orient Express, Detective Poirot. They're going to do the same thing. It's going to be Detective Blanc in a totally new situation, in a totally new mystery, with a totally new cast of characters. And I could see a Knives Out franchise becoming the next. Who's going to be the cast of this particular one? Like, who's going to be the next Batman or who's going to be the next Bond? So I'm excited about it. Aaron, did you have a chance to finally see? Did you watch Knives Out? Yes.
Oh yeah, I saw it. Way Alamo Drafthouse, like that was long time ago. Loved it.
What do you think about them doing a sequel?
I love it. I'm ready to see it this weekend. Ryan Johnson just like put it out there. Go rush it through. I don't even care. I'm so excited about this. I'm also a huge fan of the original Clue. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, Tim Curry, please put him in one of these Knives Out sequels. I want to see Tim Curry. I also think that Laura Dern would be I mean, she had some oddly comedic moments in Marriage Story that I think would work really well in a Knives Out film. I'm trying to think of some, because I feel like Jason Bateman is kind of an obvious choice. He does, you know what I mean? I would not be surprised if we see Jason Bateman in a future Knives Out, but I really want to see kind of some unexpected names and faces, Laura Dern being one, and Tim Curry. Please, please, please put Tim Curry in this.
All right, so guys, the question is here for you. What do you feel about them finally greenlighting and saying it's a go, it's greenlit, here's the finances, go make this movie for another Knives Out? I'm super stoked about it. How do you guys feel about it? Jump into the comments section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, let's move on to main topic number 4. And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Tad Cotton, who writes, given the success of individual character stories of Aquaman, Shazam, Joker, Wonder Woman, and now it looks like Harley Quinn, do you think we will continue keeping these characters separate, or will they eventually revisit trying to build a Justice League? Myself, I personally feel like they should stick to this formula and character building, but I know there are people looking forward to universe building. All right, thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts, man. And yeah, listen, despite the fact that I am not a big fan of this new Birds of Prey movie, I wanted to be, all that kind of stuff, there's still no denying that it has gotten tremendous critical response, which is something that DC films, particularly in the DCEU era, have struggled to do. They've simply struggled to get good, positive critical response. They've been getting it lately. They got a decent response with Aquaman. They got great response with Shazam. They got great response with the Wonder Woman film. And under the Walter Hamada era, we've clearly seen that they are in a phase right now where they just want to focus on making good original films. With two of them, Aquaman and Joker, being billion-dollar films, Shazam being a huge critical success and thankfully making a little bit of money. I love that movie. And now we got Harley Quinn. And despite the fact that I'm not a big fan of it, the fact of the matter is a lot of people are. And a lot of the critics are loving it and embracing it and just thinking it's great. That is a win, regardless of how I felt about it. That's a win for DC. That's 4 wins in a row, folks. Aquaman, Shazam, Joker, Harley Quinn. And guess what? With Patty Jenkins directing it, Wonder Woman 84 is going to be 5 in a row. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll suck. Every movie could. But with Patty Jenkins directing it, I got to believe it's going to be great. If you are Warner Brothers right now, there is absolutely no reason to change this philosophy for now. Now, you ask in the question, will they eventually move on to cross movies and in another Justice League at some point, sometime? Of course they will at some point. Of course they will. But not this year, not next year, and probably not the year after that. Right now, this is working for them. The critics are liking their films for the first time in a while. People are liking the films. They're making money. I mean, they are just on a good path. And who gives a flying F if they do crossovers or not? Crossovers is just concept. That doesn't make a movie good. We've seen them do crossovers and have very mixed results. Batman v Superman, Justice League, we've seen them do it and very, very mixed results. Right now, Walter Hamada's got them focusing on the individual films. And even though this Harley Quinn movie is the first DCEU movie that I haven't liked, fact of the matter is most people seem to like it. And that's a win. So I think for the foreseeable future, you're not going to see them talking about a Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Harley Quinn team-up movie. I just don't see that happening in the foreseeable future. This is working. It's making the money. I think they're going to keep moving in that direction. You hear something like this, and you saw Harley Quinn last night yourself, Aaron. Mm-hmm. Do you think DC and Warner Brothers will stay the path right now, or do you think they're already thinking about crossing these things over as soon as possible?
I really hope that they stay the path. There's really no reason, as you were saying, to do a crossover at this point. Right now, what I think that they're tapping into is the large market of people who are not necessarily familiar with these characters' backstories, who are meeting them for the first time, while also fulfilling the excitement and the joy of people who have known them and who have read the comic books for years. And they should keep leaning into that. Give us more of their backstory. Tell us more about how these characters came to be so that we fall in love with them and we really want to be invested in their story, and that the audience starts asking for, hey, what about that one time that Harley Quinn coincided with so-and-so? Let the audience ask for that before you just try to shove it down our throats.
Do you think there is any advantage to maybe going forward and trying a crossover at this point?
Not at this point, no. There's no, because again, as you said, it's just gimmick. I mean, you didn't use the word gimmick, but it's not about story. Like I'm always, you guys always, you know that I say this all the time, regardless of who you cast, and I say this as an actor, it's not about who you cast. It's not about, ooh, wow, there's some shiny, object over there. It's about what's the story. Once my butt is in the theater, what am I going to experience? And I will say, even though I felt like Harley Quinn was slow in the beginning and a bit discombobulated in some of its editing, which I did see that.
Yeah.
I still walked out of that theater going, I know who these characters are now. I'm now emotionally invested in what they do, and I want to see more of what they do. I don't necessarily need to see them crossing over with this person and that person. And also, the more big names that you have in a movie, the more complicated it gets. Let's just keep it simple. Use the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid, and tell these one character stories right now that's working for them, people are enjoying them, and people are getting invested. And then when people go, okay, now it's time, like, well, no, it's just not time yet.
All right, guys, question is, how do you feel about that? What do you think? Two different questions, I suppose. What do you think Warner Brothers and DC will do with their properties right now? What do you think they should do right now? Jump down to the comments section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, with that down and out of the way, let's move on to our final main topic today. And our final main topic today gets submitted to us by Samuel Pole, who writes, so, when Viacom and CBS merged, there was lots of speculation as to what the companies would do. Some thought they tried to sell to a larger player. I never thought that. But now CNBC is reporting that the new company is exploring making yet another streaming service. This would, quote unquote, build off of CBS All Access to include the Paramount Pictures library and the Showtime catalog, along with other properties like Comedy Central. All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in, Samuel. Every once in a while, in Hollywood and in the world of entertainment, a company that has a great tradition with incredibly smart, intelligent people running it do something so butt-fuck stupid, it just makes your head spin. Here's what Samuel was referring to. This comes to us from The Verge, who writes, the parent company of the $10 per month CBS All Access streaming platform is reportedly about to launch another $10 per month streaming platform. For some reason, the newly merged ViacomCBS is planning a separate service that will, quote unquote, build on CBS All Access by adding content from Paramount Pictures, Nickelodeon, BET, MTV, Comedy Central, and the streaming service Pluto TV, which Pluto TV is already free, so I'm not quite sure what that's about. Anyway, as well as Showtime for those willing to pay extra, CNBC reports. The question remains, why launch a new channel when the company has an existing service that's just starting to gain some traction? And of course, that's talking about CBS All Access. We are entering into the era of the streaming wars, where we've got players like Disney Plus. We've got players like Hulu. We've got players like the upcoming HBO Max. We've got players like Netflix. We've got players like Peacock. We got all this, and already out there is CBS All Access. This merger represented for this company an opportunity to take this existing CBS All Access, which has around 10 million subscribers in America, which is not a bad place to start. It puts them well behind the other guys, but it's not a bad place to start. You now have an opportunity to load this thing with content, to load this thing with things that people are wanting to see, other things that you can throw in there. And instead of adding to this existing thing that you have and giving it a leg up and getting this dog in the fight and putting CBS All Access in the fight, because as of right now, let's face it, it's got Star Trek Discovery and it's got Picard, and that's it. That's enough for me to subscribe to it, but you really could have made this thing a player. And now you're going to put out another one to compete against Netflix, Hulu, Disney, but more importantly, compete against your own service. How fucking stupid are you? How fucking stupid are you? This is idiotic. And listen, I am all for business. I am all for making money. That's why companies exist. They exist to make money. And that's great. That's nothing wrong with that. That's the way business works. And they're all for it. And I understand that, and I'm cool with that. But at some point, your own greed will make you trip over your own feet and make your other endeavors fail. I get it. Some idiot is sitting in the ivory tower at ViacomCBS going, well, you know, we make a bunch of money on $10 a month for CBS. Oh my God, we could double if we put out another one. Then you know what? Let's split off another one and we'll make triple the money. Then let's split off another one and we'll make quadruple the money. That's not how it fucking works. It's not how it works. You develop a property, you develop a product, and then you add value to that product to make that product more appealing to a potential customer base to come in and subscribe or own your product. You do not start cutting out potential benefits of the product to your potential consumers and just expect they're all going to flock to it. That's not how it works. And you are fucking idiots. It's just ridiculous. We are entering into a phase right now where a lot of us fans are already starting to go, there's too much streaming channels. There's too many for me to subscribe to already. And there's going to be a reckoning and what we would call a market balance will come. A market correction will come in a couple of years where a number of the services will fall away. Some will conglomerate to each other to create packages. It's going to come in a few years. But we're already in an era where people are starting wondering, there's just too many of these services out there that I can't possibly pay for. And what do? Instead of doing something for your service and product to really elevate it above the chaff and really get some people's attention, you launch another one? You're idiots. You're absolute idiots. And I don't understand how this, and again, it's all greed. This is motivated by greed. And greed is good, greed works, to quote Gordon Gekko, played by Michael Douglas. It does, and I get it, but at some point it's got to be smart greed. Be greedy in wanting to get people to subscribe to your service by putting value into your service to make people want it, not doing something like this. I don't understand the mentality here. Anyway, Aaron, I'm probably overreacting to a great degree. Tell me why.
No, I mean, you're welcome to react however you see fit, and why not have us send off to the weekend with a fun-filled, exciting diatribe about why they are fucking idiots? And I agree with you. You know, when I heard about this and I'm thinking, oh my God, I could, have all of these exciting shows that I want to binge watch. You have Workaholics on Comedy Central, Girlfriends on BET, you have Shameless on Showtime. There's all these shows that are absolutely binge-worthy and worth watching, but I'm not going to pay an extra $10 a month and pay $10 a month for CBS All Access. As I'm going through my QuickBooks every week, which I'm trying to do every week, and I'm going, all right, what is a recurring payment? I start writing all these recurring payments down that are automatically coming out of my account, and I'm looking at these going, there's just way too many of these $7.99s, $10.99s, and eventually, as you're trying to just cut back on costs of certain life expenditures, all of these streaming services, they add up, and people are getting sick of it. So I agree with you. Why not just say, we have CBS All Access, we're going to add on, the streaming service of Showtime and BET and Comedy Central and all the other ones that you mentioned. As we're merging, we're going to maybe raise the price from $10.99 to $12.99. But we're adding value, but you're not doubling the price and forcing people to then choose, because in a choice between those two, obviously I'm going to let go of CBS All Access. It doesn't give me as much binge-worthy material as the other one does. So I think it's absolutely greedy. It's a stupid decision on their part. They're going to ultimately end up suffering in the long run because people are not going to choose both. They're going to choose either or. So why not give them both together, raise the price just slightly, and ultimately build yourself as the big brand, as the next Netflix of something that's not only having new independent original programming, but also all those binge-worthy shows that we have come to love over the years.
So anyway, guys, question becomes for you. What do you think about this move by ViacomCBS? I mean, look, maybe you completely disagree with me. Maybe you're thinking, no, you know what, John? I think my friends would keep signing up for more and more services if there's even one thing on there that they want to watch. Maybe there's an argument to be made for that. Maybe you feel like me, where you think this is just ridiculous and even smart people can do really, really stupid things. How do you feel about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With all that down, we're going to move on to the live question part of the show. But before we do, it is well past 10 o'clock already, so we're going to let Erin Cummings get out of here for the day. And you guys, I don't know if you knew, but Joey Bishop was here as well.
She was sleeping the whole time.
She was sleeping the whole time. I hope I didn't wake her up. Oh, look how adorable she is.
I'm so tired.
Why'd you wake me up, Mama? So anyway, Erin, in the meantime, thanks for being here. And where can people find you online?
Oh, you can go online and find me at Erin L. Cummings on Twitter and Instagram. You can find Joey, and she's got her little Star Wars outfit on.
Like that
you can
outfit.
find Joey and her siblings at Rat Pat Cats. And you can also go to cameo.com/Erin L. Cummings. And a little reminder, visit Shannon Robles, and you can get one of these too.
All right. Thanks a lot for being here,
Bye,
Erin.
guys. Have a good weekend.
All right, guys, listen, we will be back. We're going to take just a quick short break here for a couple of minutes. Give me a chance to rest the vocal cords, stretch the legs, refill my drink. So if you guys will hold tight, don't go anywhere. Go use the bathroom for yourself, whatever. Don't move. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. See you in just a minute. Guys, thank you so much for your patience and indulgence as I took a little bit of a break there, stretch the legs, refill my drink. And we are now going to dive into live questions. So we're going to start by getting caught up on some of the ones that were from yesterday. I'm going to let you guys know I'm actually a little bit under the weather. I know I don't look like I am, but I'm feeling kind of crappy. I have most of the morning. I've been trying to muscle through the show. So we might cut today's show short a little bit, but I'm going to get through as many of the questions here as I can. And because I just love talking about this stuff with you guys. All right. Let's roll into it. First one up here. Matthew Phillips writes, from best to worst, if you had to rank these 4 Taika Waititi acting credits, What We Do in the Shadows, Thor Ragnarok, IG-11, and Jojo Rabbit, which order would you choose? I would go, to me, it's actually pretty easy. I would go Jojo Rabbit's his best performance, What We Do in the Shadows second, Thor Ragnarok, and IG-11. I mean, the IG-11 thing was very, very minimal. It was very minimal. He voiced a couple of lines, and it's so that's pretty minimal. But yeah, man, his performance as the imaginary Adolf Hitler was pretty damn cool. I think that's how I would rank that one. Thanks for the question, Matthew. All right, Charles A. writes, Wedge Antilles actor is Ewan McGregor's uncle. Wow, yeah, I mean, we've talked about that a lot. Dennis Lawson, the guy who plays Wedge Antilles, is in real life Ewan McGregor, who played Obi-Wan Kenobi's real family. I mean, it is kind of a weird connection, but it is. It's a really cool one. All right, Jason Ashcroft writes, hey, John, thanks for all that you do. Well, thank you so much. Saw Birds of Prey last night at an advanced screening. I thought it was okay. Didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. Thought Ewan McGregor was the best part. Anyways, what do you think of a proposed Harley Quinn trilogy? Well, again, I didn't like the movie, but I didn't hate it. I mean, there's a lot of things to like in the movie. It's just for some reason the collection of the parts didn't add up for me for whatever reason. But because of all the good things in it, I'm totally down for another one. Because I think maybe if they do it again, that maybe they'll find a way to put these great pieces together in a more satisfying way. So I'm totally down for another one. Listen, the critic ratings are strong. I think a lot of the audience is going to like it. I think it's going to make a decent little amount of money. So why not? Yeah, go ahead and make another one. All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, Jason. All right. Evelyn writes, congrats on the award. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, won Film Critic of the Year or something like that at the award this ceremony the other night. It was great. What the coolest part about it was I was nominated just to be mentioned in the same breath as one of my lifelong heroes in the industry, which is Leonard Maltin. Let me just say something about Leonard Maltin. Leonard Maltin, you got to understand, Leonard Maltin was the film critic for Entertainment Tonight for a long time. And when I was a kid, there was no YouTube when I was a little kid that I could just go on and start watching 1,000 different people talk about movies. If I wanted to hear some really cool, somebody talking about movies, I would go to Entertainment Tonight and hope that Leonard Maltin would be on that night. And there's just a way that Leonard Maltin had of speaking about movies with a joy and an enthusiasm that was just contagious to me as a kid. And one of the underlying reasons about why I like being and why I wanted to be in this line of business. So Leonard Maltin is one of the all-time greats. All hail Leonard Maltin. Anyway, Jason Ashcroft writes, The Rise of Skywalker was one of my favorite films of the year. I understand you didn't like it, and that's okay. Like you say, it's the great subjectivity of film. I do want to know in regards to the prequels, is The Rise of Skywalker worse or better than them? Yeah, it's the first film in the new Disney era of Star Wars films that I did not enjoy. I liked all the other ones to varying degrees, but this is the first one I just flat out didn't like. And that's unfortunate. But I still believe The Rise of Skywalker on its worst day is better than anything in the prequels. And I don't like The Rise of Skywalker. I don't like it. But I think it's still better than anything in the prequels, Jason. So that's just kind of my thought. And other people will have different opinions, and that's perfectly great. I mean, that's the subjectivity of film. But since you're asking me, my personal position on it is that The Rise of Skywalker, as bad as it is still better than any of the prequels. All right, Maxwell Bishop writes, if all the animals along the equator were capable of flattery, then Thanksgiving and Halloween would fall on the same day. If all the animals along the equator were capable of flattery, then Thanksgiving and Halloween would fall. I don't, it's probably a movie quote and I'm just not getting it right now. All right, Kenneth Colton writes, Captain Canada strikes again. Congrats on your award. This movie critic win last night, John. Shows your consistency and how hard work pays off. Well, thank you very much. I mean, look, it's just always nice to have somebody recognize your efforts. That's all. I mean, let's not pretend like it's the biggest, most important thing in the world, but it always feels nice. It gives you a nice little warm spot in the old Ghiblies when others want to recognize what you do. And it did make me feel very special. So thank you for that, Kenneth. I appreciate that. AV Callie writes, funny how Sam Raimi's in talks to direct a sequel to Doctor Strange 2, and Doctor Strange was mentioned in his Spider-Man 2 2004. Yeah, I've seen other people mention that. And I love Spider-Man 2. I don't remember the reference. I'm going to have to go and look up what people are talking about. But for those of you who've missed it, what AV Callie's talking about is that, and a number of other people are talking about that, wow, Spider-Man 2 actually referenced Doctor Strange, and I don't remember. And I love that movie. I've seen it about 20 times. So I'm going to have to go back and check it up again. But yeah, apparently that's what everybody's talking about right now. All right, Wyatt Bender writes, Sam Raimi is the perfect candidate to direct Doctor Strange 2 with his amazing background of Evil Dead and the Liam Neeson Darkman movie. The references in Spider-Man 2 finally come to life. Listen, I absolutely believe, at least in theory and on paper, it could go south and it could be a disaster. But in theory and on paper, Sam Raimi is a awesome choice to direct a Doctor Strange. Really, Doctor Strange, comic book movie, going to have some horror elements into it with some comedy elements too. What's Sam Raimi? Oh, made one of the greatest comic book movies of all time in Spider-Man 2. He made some of the most iconic, fun horror films of all time. He is, I'm not going to say the only guy to do it. I'm not going to say the perfect guy to do it, but he's an ideal guy to do it. So I think this is a great choice. And I never would have thought of it. I never would have thought Sam Raimi, but I'm all down for it. I'm absolutely all down for it. All right, Mad Dog 8995 writes, who sends in a really large super chat, by the way. Thank you so much for that, Mad Dog, for supporting the channel on that level, brother. Hey, John, my name is Pierce Brosnan. Good, strong name. I wanted to say thanks to you and everyone you've worked with since the AMC days. You, Dennis, Amy Rose, and everyone helped me through high school and even homelessness. I love you guys. Hashtag AMC Originals. Oh, dude, thank you so much. That's honestly very touching and awesome to hear. Number one, it's always really cool to hear that people have appreciated and been watching your stuff for that long. That's always kind of amazing. But more importantly than that, it is the power of story and the power of movies and the power of the community of people who appreciate movies that can really, I know when I feel crappy or I'm down or I have like some crappy things going on, being able to jump in and watch a movie or being able to jump into a conversation somewhere where people are talking about movies just help refresh my mind, reset the button, and it just really does. And when I come out of it, my real world problems are still there, but I find I now get to approach them with a different perspective, a fresh mind. It's just always great. So I'm really glad, Mad Dog, that the film fan community has been able to be that for you. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that story, man. And it means a lot. It really does. All right. Ben Rayner writes, Oscar stream on Sunday. That was fun when you did it a few years ago. Here's the thing. Yeah, a few years ago, what I did was I live streamed me and a couple of friends watching the Oscars. I don't think I'm going to do it this year. Mainly because we have a bunch of people coming over and I don't want my guests in my house to feel self-conscious, knowing, remember guys, be careful what you say, be careful how you act, because you're going to be streaming live to the rest of the world. And I don't want people to feel self-conscious or my guests to feel weird when they're over. Like if it was just me and Ann, maybe one or two friends hanging in and watching the Oscars, I would probably live stream it. But I think because we have like well over a dozen people coming over, I don't know that it would be considerate of me to tell everybody as they're walking. By the way, guys, just so you know, you're going to be streaming live to everybody while you're on, so be very careful what you say and do. I don't want to put that pressure on anybody, so I will probably not. I'm not 100% saying I'm not, but I'm probably not, unfortunately. All right. Sasuke Kuchia writes, who is the most underrated actor, Ben Foster or Sam Rockwell? Also, greetings from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I love Montreal. Go to the old quarter. The International Cafe in Montreal, Quebec, Canada is one of the best non-Italian plates of just straight up spaghetti you can have. It's fabulous. Anyway, everybody knows how brilliant Sam Rockwell is. I think there's a lot of people who still don't get just how good Ben Foster is. So I'm going to go most underrated is Ben Foster. Because a lot of people know how great Sam Rockwell is. Not everybody knows how great Ben Foster is. So I'm going to say Ben Foster. Daniel Hinoja writes, new Best Movie, Worst Movie episode, not on iTunes yet. Oh, it's up now. Sorry. I was going to launch it a couple of days ago, and I totally just forgot to launch it. This morning before I started the John Campea Show today, earlier this morning, I launched the newest episode of Best Movie, Worst Movie podcast. So if you go and double check, it is up there now. You can go and find it now. And the newest episode with me, Cody Miller, and Robert Meyer Burnett is talking about the best and worst of the great Tom Hanks. That's the new episode of Best Movie, Worst Movie. By the way, go find our podcast, Best Movie, Worst Movie. It's up there. You can find it on just about any of your podcast services of choice. All right. Let's see here. Sasuke Kuchia writes, just rewatch Prisoners. So good. Hugh Jackman is amazing. Jake Gyllenhaal is amazing. Look, it's one of those movies that if you weren't already a fan of Denis Villeneuve, you should go back and watch that if you want to see just how good and deep he is. If you want to get excited for the upcoming Dune, go and watch Prisoners. And you're right, Jake Gyllenhaal, magnificent in it. Hugh Jackman, magnificent in it. It's just an incredible film. Anthony Luciano writes, just finished watching Good Morning Vietnam. And over the course of the movie, I laughed, I cried, I felt anger, I laughed, and by the end, I was crying again. What a movie, man. Listen, that was from an era of Robin Williams movies where he was cranking out some incredible stuff. Robin Williams did end up with an Academy Award. He won it for Best Supporting Actor for Good Will Hunting. But he very easily could have ended up with 3. There was obviously Good Morning Vietnam. And you know what you can also describe? Another movie that says just like that. I laughed, I cried, I felt anger, I laughed by the end, and I was crying again. You could be describing Dead Poets Society. You could also be describing another movie from that era of Robin Williams films that he also could have won an Academy. I mean, literally, he could have had 3 Oscars on his mantle. But that was just from a great era. And Good Morning Vietnam, so good. Forrest Whitaker. It's just such a great movie. I'm glad. Thank you for bringing that up, Anthony. I love that one. Commander Dameron Squadron writes, is it time for Geeky Gator to just be on the show? Geeky, listen, I go through and I pick the best questions that are relevant to topics that are out that day. And Geeky Gators is one of our viewers who often really does have a really good eye for picking out great newsworthy topics that are up that day and sends in a question about it. And so you often see his get picked. I don't think we had one from him today, but you often see his get picked. All right. Mr. Graham 91 writes, good morning, John. As a movie fan, I found a game called Blockbuster Party Game. I have it. It was a gift. We have it right now, and we played it the other day, and we loved it. You may want to check it out. It's for anyone who's seen any movie. And the game comes in what looks like the big old-fashioned VHS box at Blockbuster. Remember, all the movies at Blockbuster would be in a big case. So you get the case. The game comes in that, and we've played it. We have game night most Sunday nights. And normally game night on Sundays is our Dungeons & Dragons game, but as we're in between campaigns like we are right now, we just have regular game night. Will people come over, we'll play Clue, or we'll play Cards Against Humanity, or and we've been playing the Blockbuster game too. It is a lot of fun. It's a good, fun game. You should check it out if you guys haven't. Thanks for bringing that up, Mr. Graham. All right. Landon Hendricks writes, first donation. Oh, thank you so much for supporting the channel, Landon. John, your show is amazing and a daily watch for me for a year now. Thank you for all that you do. Congrats on the award and deserve. Thank you so much. The shoe scene, my heart jumped out at that scene. Again, it's so difficult, Landon, to explain to people who have not seen Jojo Rabbit, which again to me is the best film of the year. I think it's the best film of the year. It won't win Best Picture, 1917 will, but God, I wish Jojo Rabbit would. Highly unlikely though. But for people who haven't seen that movie, to, without spoiling anything, explain just how incredible the shoe scene is. You're not prepared for it. You're just not prepared for it. And it's filled with shock and emotion and amazement. And it is one of those scenes that I will always remember. I will just always remember the shoe scene in Jojo Rabbit. And yeah, man, your heart jumps out of your chest. It's just, such an amazing moment. Such an amazing moment. I'm glad you saw it, and I'm glad you were able to appreciate Landon. And thanks for supporting the channel, man. We appreciate that. All right, Curtis Lopez writes, are you doing an Oscar watch-along live stream? Just kind of address that with Ben. Probably not, because I'm going to have too many people here, and I don't want other people to feel uneasy knowing that in their private conversations, or that they have to sit there quiet because they don't want to say anything because they're being streamed across. I probably not. Unfortunately, probably not. Suthius writes, I love it when Miss Erin and Miss Chris are in the studio. Yeah, it's always great. Again, it's been difficult for me to have them in studio because I'm doing the documentary. My equipment is kind of all over the place right now, but it was really fun yesterday having both of them in the studio at the same time. I always have a lot of fun with those two. David House writes, I hated how they stripped Clark of powers in Crisis. It was irrelevant. It didn't matter. All the little cameos they did were completely pointless and meaningless. They were all completely pointless and meaningless. And it doesn't matter if Clark still had his powers or not. It still was meaningless. He was still only going to be on screen for 30 seconds and then be done. It didn't matter. So it wouldn't have mattered if he had all of his powers. It wouldn't matter if he had none. It was irrelevant because it was a completely meaningless cameo, which was unfortunate. Matthew Jacobsmeyer writes, if the Obi-Wan series is possibly being converted into a movie, couldn't Kathleen Kennedy's comments be looked at as not an agenda, but more, I know something you don't yet? She could know she'll have a woman direct a movie because it's true now. I mean, that's true. First of all, I never looked at anything Kathleen Kennedy was saying about, we're going to have a woman direct a Star Wars movie. There's no agenda there. How can you accuse Kathleen Kennedy? And by the way, I'm one of the people who thinks Kathleen Kennedy should step down. Let's be clear. You guys know I have my issues with Kathleen Kennedy and how she's managed Lucasfilm. But her having an agenda is idiotic. It's an idiotic thing to say. She hates men. She hates white men. What is she? Who is she hired to direct all of the Star Wars movies she's overseen? And even all the directors she's fired, what have they all been? And all the directors she picked, all of them, what have they all been? White men. Okay, now tell me again what your theory is. Well, Kathleen Kennedy hates white men. Now tell me again who she hired to direct every single Star Wars movie she's overseen so far. White men. Okay, yeah, time for you to sit in a corner and be quiet. Time to sit in a corner and be quiet. Because the facts just don't line up with what you're hoping to say. But the fact of the matter is she's got a lot of female directors she has worked with, and she just believes it's time to give one of them a shot to direct a movie. So there's no agenda there. That said, Rob and I have kind of been talking a little bit about how I've heard whispers from certain people, and I don't report. I haven't done a video with this in the title or anything because I'm not even sure that I believe it's true. So I'm not going to make a video about. I know I could get tons of hits. Oh, I could. You know how many hits a video of mine would get if I titled it, exclusive John Campea. I have sources that have confirmed to me that Obi-Wan is being retooled to be a movie. Oh, I could get tons of hits, but I'm not even sure that I buy that it's true. So I'm not going to do a video of it. But in a non-video title that I will mention to you guys, and I did on the show yesterday, I was told by somebody that it looks like they're retooling Obi-Wan to be a movie. But I'm not even sure that I don't believe it's clearly reliable, and I'm not sure that I believe it. So keep that. But Rob, it was funny because Rob brought up the other day that he's speculating that that's what they're going to do. I think a number of people are speculating. Because if that's a huge if, and it probably won't even happen, but let's just play that game for a second. If they are retooling Obi-Wan to be a motion picture, which is what they originally wanted Obi-Wan to be, it would explain a lot. It would explain the sudden delay in production. It would explain her comments about, we're absolutely going to be having a woman direct a Star Wars movie, because we already know that Deborah Chow is attached to direct the Obi-Wan series. If they're going to make it a movie, they would just move her over and have her direct the movie. I mean, it would make a lot of sense. I don't know that that's what's happening. Actually, I suspect it's not what's happening. But you're right. It would fall into place with a lot of different things. So it's a good observation there, Matthew. All right. Naftali Cotter writes, do you think in Doctor Strange 2, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and Tom Holland will appear as a cameo or small role? No, I do not. I believe that's no. Nope, I don't believe that whatsoever. Not in the least. It's not constructive. It doesn't build narrative. All it would be is a lame, little cheap fan service thing, like Tom Welling popping up as a powerless Superman. That's exactly what that would be. Some lazy ass, lame ass, cheap fan service pop without any narrative purpose. So I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think that in the least. But having just said that, you'd be remiss not to acknowledge that no pun intended, stranger things have happened in these comic book movies, right? So never say never. I severely doubt they will, but never say never. Never say never. All right, Suthius writes, I have kids. It was fine. The J-Lo Shakira halftime show was awesome. Yeah, I agree. Listen, they did nothing that was any more sexy or salacious than what we see every NFL cheerleader squad wearing and doing every single game. So I had no problem with it whatsoever. But then again, I don't have kids. Suthius also writes, Cirque du Soleil has pole dancing, not strippers. I guess there you go. Yeah. Then again, some Cirque du Soleil shows aren't advertised as kid-friendly either, but there's that. Bames John writes, hey, John, congrats on the award. Thank you so much. Well-deserved. What happened to the one in the middle, the Bendu? Wanted it to be a live-action Star Wars movie. Oh, I thought the Bendu was an interesting thing to throw in Rebels. I thought that I had no desire to see a movie about the Bendu, and I don't even think the movie divisions are all that interested in that sort of stuff, so I thought it made for an interesting character in Rebels. I was fine with it. I thought it was interesting. But I never had any desire. And I don't think there were ever any plans to translate Bendu into its own thing. I don't think there was ever any plans for that. And I personally wouldn't be interested in it. But just because I wouldn't be interested in it doesn't mean you wouldn't be. So clearly you are, Bame. So who knows? But I don't think there were any plans for that. All right, Ryan DG writes, one of Kirk Douglas's underrated films was Greedy, 1994. Hilarious and still holds up. I'm not even sure I'm familiar with that one. Hold up. Let me just double check here. 1994, you say. Greedy in 1994 was directed by Jonathan Lynn. Really? Michael J. Fox, Kirk Douglas, Nancy Travis. I'll always love Nancy Travis for So I Married an Axe Murderer. Phil Hartman, Ed Begley Jr. Really? I'm not familiar with this. Did this get a theatrical release? Yeah, I'm not even familiar. I might have to go and check that out. Thank you for the recommendation on that, Ryan. I appreciate that. I don't even recognize that. All right. Ethan Garcia. See, I learn stuff from you guys every day. Ethan Garcia writes, did you hear about the elementary school who showed the screening of The Lion King and was fine? Bob Iger then apologized and wants to donate money to the school. I did, and here's the thing. Listen, I had somebody write to me very angry. If you guys didn't hear about this, here's the story. So a school very illegally decided to put on a public performance of the animated film Lion King. One of the parents or teachers brought in their home DVD copy of Lion King, and they had a big parent night and brought everybody in an auditorium. And as a part of their event, that they charged money for, by the way, to come in and watch Lion King. That, of course, is illegal, and you can't do it. The company that represents Disney and a number of other studios in protecting their copyrights notified the school and fined the school a whopping $250. They fined the school $250. Not $2.5 million, not $250,000. They fined the school $250. Which some people wrote to me like, how dare Disney go after schools? Disney didn't go after schools. All right. I don't want to play watchdog for the big corporate entities there, but the reality was the school did something stupid. They'd put on a public performance of a movie at an event that they charged money for with a piece of copywritten material, and they got fined $250. I honestly, I know everybody likes to see anything that a big studio does as dark and evil, but there was nothing wrong with that. There was nothing wrong with the studio saying, we need to protect our copyright. You're putting on a public performance at an event that you were charging money for. That's illegal. You can't do that. And all they got was a fine of $250. But apparently, against Bob Iger made a statement about it, which is very classy on his part, I suppose. Not something that he needed to do, but to me, it was honestly really a non-story. A school did something stupid. They did something illegal. They got a tiny little slap, a $250 fine for doing something really stupidly illegal. And it is what it is. So to me, it's not really a story. Anyway. Mad Dog 8995 writes, I'd like a J.R.R. Tolkien biopic. He had a cool life. Well, they did one. They just did one with the kid who played Beast in the new X-Men movies. Why am I forgetting his name? I can't remember his name at the top. But I think it was, what was it called? I think it was just called Tolkien. So yeah, go look that up. It was just out like a year ago, so you can go check that out. All right, Ethan Bernstein writes, who are the actors you'd like to see get their first Oscar nomination in the next decade? Personally, I'd love to see, and I think we'll see, Kevin Harrelson Jr., Lakeith Stanfield, Robert Pattinson, Shia LaBeouf, Ana de Armas, Taylor Russell, Julia Fox, and Caitlin Dever. I mean, that's a huge question, but I mean, a couple stand out that I do think will. Robert Pattinson is going to get an Academy Award nomination. He has just been showing over the last 10 years he is a brilliant actor. And now you've got Christopher Nolan going out and getting him. Now you got Matt Reeves going out and getting from the Batman. But in the last 10 years, he's stayed active in some remarkable performances and some remarkable smaller indie films, just kind of honing his craft there and becoming a truly magnificent actor. He'll get it. I'm also a big fan of Lakeith Stanfield, who would have ever thought the stoner buddy guy from Atlanta would truly be a remarkable actor. And by the way, he's one of the really good parts of Knives Out as well. Shia LaBeouf, I mean, I don't know. He's one of the world's great actors. And what a year he had. Honey Boy, Peanut Butter Falcon. But I think Robert Pattinson is one you can put money on that he will get in the next number of years an Academy Award nomination. All right, thanks for sending that in, Ethan. All right, next up, Andrew Columbia writes, do you think there is any chance whatsoever we get a live-action Spider-Verse movie in the next few years with Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield? No, I don't. I mean, never say never. It's not 0, 1 or 2% chance, but no. And honestly, I think it sounds like a dumb idea. I think it would just be ridiculous, empty fan service, and I don't think there's a story. It sounds like a cool Saturday Night Live skit. It sounds like a cool 15-minute YouTube video. It doesn't sound like a cool motion picture to me, so... no, I don't. I would put money against it. But again, we've seen stranger things happen. Never say never. I won't say it's 0, but I think it's a pretty low chance. Let's see. Dude Man says, John, I sent in 2 questions, never came up. Keep your eyes open. It'll probably come up here shortly. Ben Rayner writes, Birds of Prey soldier talk this weekend. Oh, you probably mean spoiler talk this weekend. No, I'm too busy with documentary stuff right now. There will not be, unfortunately, a spoiler talk for Birds of Prey this weekend. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll change my mind about that, but no, right now there's not. An anonymous viewer writes, regarding Temple of Doom PG, I think it was all due to Spielberg's influence. I remember reading that Poltergeist received an R rating and Spielberg told the board, I don't make R-rated movies, and they changed it to PG with no cuts. Yes and no. I mean, look, at the same time that you look, we talked about this the other day about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. That movie got a PG rating. There was no PG-13 at the time. Had there been, I'm sure it would have gotten a PG-13. And I was like, yeah, how do you get a PG where there's literally a guy screaming above a lava pit where another man thrusts his hands into his chest and pulls out his beating heart? How does that get PG? But at the same time, there's not really anything else in the movie that screams rated R. I mean, it's not like there's a ton of nudity or a ton of swearing or a ton of sexual stuff. I mean, there's innuendo, but very little. So I don't know. But listen, Spielberg isn't the only guy where movies have appealed the MPA's decision on giving a certain movie a certain rating, and the MPA would change its mind and revert. It wouldn't be the only time, but yeah, at the same time, Spielberg's a pretty influential dude. So I don't know. It's interesting. But again, I'm cool with the fact that Temple of Doom wasn't rated R. There is that one scene that's like, oh my God, how is that PG? How is that PG? Again, I think if it was today's standards, it would have gotten a PG-13. But if you had to choose between rated R for that movie and PG, it doesn't make sense to me that it's PG, but it also doesn't make sense to make Temple of Doom an R-rated movie either. Which is one of the reasons why I think the PG-13 creation was probably a pretty good idea. All right. Jonah writes, I love Spider-Man 1 and 2 to death. Sam Raimi may be the best director the comic book genre has ever seen after Nolan. I don't know that I agree with that, but I do like him very much. Just a few weeks ago, I was saying, I wish Raimi would return to making comic book movies again, and then we get this news. Listen, again, I'm thrilled for the news. I think it's great. I would still rather Scott Derrickson, who directed the first Doctor Strange. If I had my choice, I would still have him come back to direct Chapter 2. Clearly, they had creative differences. He's departed. I still wish it was him. But if it's not going to be him, Sam Raimi is a damn good replacement. I mean, what's not to be enthusiastic about that? Sam Raimi's a damn good replacement for that. So let's see how it turns out. Jonah also writes, it will be interesting to see what Raimi brings to comic book movies today with Doctor Strange 2 because the genre has evolved a lot since his Spider-Man movies. It's true. Yes, I am insanely excited for this. I hope it really happens. I agree. And it will be very interesting to see what he brings to the table. He has such an eclectic filmography, but the perfect mix for something like a Doctor Strange, right? The horror films, the horror with fun films, the pure comic book movie films. I mean, he just has such a great mix of that I believe, again, on paper, makes him a great choice. Not the only choice, not the universe's perfect choice, but a great choice to direct this film. And so, yeah, I'm totally down with it. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to see what he does with this thing. All right. Jonah also writes, I remember watching Avengers 1 for the first time and felt very nostalgic. The lighthearted tone of the film reminded me of Raimi's Spider-Man movies. Another reason why I think he is a good fit. Do you think he would be a good choice for an Avengers film? That's too hard to say right now. Listen, we haven't seen him direct a comic book movie in a long time. A step like a Doctor Strange is perfect. It's a perfect step for him. Whether or not he'd be good at directing an Avengers film, really hard to say. Really hard to say right now. Let's see him do Doctor Strange and see what he does before we make that assessment, by the way. But listen, if they were to announce tomorrow that he was directing an Avengers movie, my only prerequisite is just make sure you pick somebody who's a good director. Sam Raimi's a good director. Drag Me to Hell is like one of the more underrated films of the last 10 plus years. I love Drag Me to Hell. Of course, he directed one of the greatest comic book movies of all time, one of the most iconic horror films of all time. He's just got a really good resume. If you're asking me, would I hire him to direct an Avengers movie right now? No. But if he was announced, I'd be cool with it because he's a good director. So we'd have to see. All right, Landon McMinn writes, and guys, I can only do a couple more. I'm not feeling great today, so I'm pushing through as much as I can. Just a couple more here. Landon McMinn writes, and sends in a really large $50 tip. Thank you so much for that, Landon. You guys have been following that when somebody sends in a donation of $50 or more, which we don't expect to happen a lot, but when you do, I will answer the question, and then we will answer it again in its own video later. Anyway, Landon McMinn writes, Hi, John. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I am. Thank you very much. My question is, what's going on with Netflix's Jurassic World series? No idea. We are always hearing about Jurassic World 3, but nothing much from the series. Besides that teaser from June, there hasn't been much said. Thank you. Well, I mean, we do know that there is a Jurassic World 3 coming. We've got the cast laid out there. Everything's in motion for that movie. That movie is coming. But then I believe it was Netflix. There's like an animated thing coming. The name of which is eluding me right now. I haven't heard any more news about it, but apparently everything is moving forward with it. Even though listen, we're kind of in that window of time right now where there shouldn't be any news about it. Like, no news right now is good news, right? So that's kind of the position that we're in right now. So that's fine. But as far as Jurassic World 3, yeah, there was that thing about the teaser I think you're talking about was the battle at Big Rock. I think that's what it was called. Their battle at something rock in the park. That great little short film they did that I thought was really, really good. But then again, we heard all the announcements about the casting. The original cast is coming back. I just saw another article about it a few days ago. So everything seems to be on schedule for that. And again, we're kind of in a window of time right now where no news is good news. As far as the Netflix thing, I'm not really sure. I'll look into it a little bit and then keep your eyes over the next week or two for your question to get answered again in its own standalone question. So keep your eyes open for that, Landon. And again, thank you for supporting the channel on that level, dude. We appreciate it around here. All right. Willow writes, congratulations on your recent award win. Thank you so much, Willow. I appreciate that. If Joker wins 2 Academy Awards, Best Actor and something in one of the minor categories, would you consider its Oscar run to be better than Black Panther's? Well, no, because technically Black Panther won 3, but it would be one of the major awards, right? It would be one of the major awards, Best Actor. You know what? I think just if it wins Best Actor, I think that makes it a better Oscar run because it is one of the major. Black Panther will have won more awards, but they were all in minor categories. Not that takes away from how amazing it is to win 3 Oscars. Don't get me wrong. Don't misinterpret me. That's still incredible and amazing. But if you have a choice of winning like one of the major categories, Best Actress, Best Actor, Best Director, Best Picture, Best Screenplay, I think that speaks more to your movie as a whole than, say, one of the smaller categories, which are still amazing and still incredible. But yeah, I think my initial reaction was no, but then I think about it for a second, yeah, I think I would. I think I would consider if Joker wins Best Lead Actor and one other small category, I will consider it a more successful Oscar. I mean, Black Panther will still hold the record for most Oscar wins by a comic book movie, but I will consider Joker's the better run, right? So we'll see. I think it's going to at least tie Black Panther. I think it's going to at least tie for 3. But we'll see how that kind of turns out. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, remember how much Dave Bautista stood by James Gunn risking his whole career? Yes, I do. That's the same kind of integrity Kirk Douglas had when instead, talking about Trumbo, when insisted Dalton Trumbo's name be put on the opening credits of Spartacus, a true legend stands up for what's right. For those of you who don't know what Ryan's talking about, and by the way, you should totally watch the movie Trumbo with Breaking Bad's Bryan Cranston. And who got that movie got some Oscar love. But anyway, Trumbo was blacklisted. And to work with him was a risky thing. And you're right, Kirk Douglas stood by him and insisted that his name be. It's a big deal. You should go and read up on that. Excellent example to bring up, Ryan. Excellent example. All right. Final question today, guys. And then I'm not going to lie. I got to go lay down. Because I feel like I'm fighting passing out here. Again, not feeling great today, but I just have so much fun talking with you guys. It's been awesome. But this will be our final question today. Chipper writes, I hear you talk about There Will Be Blood, and I love that movie, especially the milkshake phrase. My intro to Daniel Day-Lewis came with The Last of the Mohicans. Stay alive! Whatever you do, stay alive. Oh, God, I love him in that. With Last of the Mohicans, it's still my favorite movie to this day, and the reason I love listening to scores in movies. Last of the Mohicans is a brilliant film. It's an older one now. I mean, it's an older one, but you know what? If I'm not mistaken, I haven't thought about it, but when I do think about it, that might be my introduction to Daniel Day-Lewis as well. Last of the Mohicans might actually be my introduction to Daniel Day-Lewis too. I hadn't thought about that. But it's true. And what an introduction it was. Like that, My Left Foot, Anyway, it is a powerful, wonderful film and an incredible performance in it by Daniel Day-Lewis. And I think that one might actually be my introduction to it as well. All right, guys, listen. For everybody from Edward Martin, Anonymous, and on up, don't worry about it. Your questions are going to get answered in a companion video this weekend. I might have to see if Robert Meyer Burnett can do it for me because I might be under the weather. I'm supposed to be doing a bunch of documentary stuff. But anyway, your questions for everybody, Edward, Anonymous, all the way up, everybody else who's sending questions, your questions are getting answered in a companion video in the next day or two. Keep your eyes open for it. Thank you to Erin Cummings for coming in here today and being on the show. I always love getting like a working actress's perspective on things. So thanks to her and this, oh God, I love that little dog, Joey Bishop. So sweet. And a special thank you to all you guys, not only for sending in questions and giving us great fun things to talk about, but also for supporting the channel while you were doing it. And all of us here at the John Campea YouTube channel, thank you very, very much for that. Guys, I hope you have a triumphant, magnificent weekend ahead of yourselves. Have a great time, guys. I'm going to try to have an open mic tomorrow. I'm going to try. But no promises. So just keep your eyes open for your YouTube notification things, but I will try. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thank you so much for allowing me the honor of being a part of your day today, guys. It is a privilege, and I'm always aware of that. So thank you so much for that, guys. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.